Well, hello, and welcome back to Read Becca for my Bookish week, where we talk about everything I read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading for roughly the current week. So I had a slower reading week in terms of finishes, but I made a lot of great progress on the books I was working on, so that is fantastic. As far as my finish, I only finished one book, and that was The Secret History of Food by Matt Seigel. Now, I made the error of looking at Goodreads. I don't usually really care about star ratings, but when I was adding it to my shelf, I just noticed it had an oddly low rating. And mainly it seems people totally misunderstood the concept or took issue with the literalism of the subtitle, because the subtitle mentions everything. And this is a 200-page book, so it can't cover every topic of food, right? It's just not possible. And not only that, that is very much not the project of this book. So what this is a nonfiction book that is a cultural microhistory of very specific foods. There are kind of two types of cultural microhistories that I've encountered, at least. And one is the sort of popular type, and that looks at more of an essay format on very niche, very focused individual topics. The other is an academic cultural microhistory, and that takes a narrow topic and does a very deep dive. So this is the former, not the latter. This is more essays on specific topics like apple pie, corn, the vanilla bean, and they diverge from that topic a little bit. So like the vanilla bean actually focuses more on ice cream and specifically vanilla ice cream. So it goes down a path led from the initial heading of the chapter, but it's not a deep dive whatsoever. It's more a collection of information about the topic, and it rambles on facts, quotes, cultural history surrounding that item. It's great if you are a trivia player. This is that sort of thing where you are just getting a litany of quick factoids, really. And it's presented very well, I thought, other than the tone. The tone got me a little bit in specifically the cereal chapter. We hear a lot about how cereal came to be, the influence of sugary breakfast cereals in America specifically, but we look at the deep dark past of Kellogg cereal. Kellogg was a strange character, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but it just struck me as so odd. I knew a little bit of his history. He was kind of a doomsday cultist, raised to not have any education. But when the doomsday did not happen, he decided to go get an education. He kept all his beliefs, even though doomsday didn't happen, and yet also changed his mind about wanting education. However, he had some really significant health issues in his childhood that impacted his digestion. As a result of that, he became very obsessed with everyone else's digestion, and that led him into getting a doctorate. I'm not sure that informed his intelligence level too much, but he imposed a lot of judgments about food and people's morals. And that's about all I will say, but some of the things were pretty harrowing and hard to hear, mainly because he's talking about things like FGM, sexually assaulting his patients as a treatment of their morals and trying to help them be more morally pure. Talking about things like women not going to the bathroom sufficiently, resulting in odor in their breath because it was so backed up. That's what they thought. It baffles me about medical history. I love those quirky stories, but it is horrifying. So I found this super interesting, and it is very limited in its scope in each of the essays, but they were very informative. So I really enjoyed this and had a great time with it. Don't go in expecting a comprehensive history of food, though. So that is all I finished this week. I am currently reading, I'm nearly done with A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. I'm working on Confederacy of Dunces and Master and Margarita. This one is slow going. I'm really trying to give it the time it needs, though. It's been quite dense, but so enjoyable. I also started on ebook, one additional thing, Microscopes and Magic by Andi or Christopher. And on audio, I have started Humble Pie by Matt Parker, which is kind of in the same category in nonfiction as Secret History of Food, where it is very much topical essays on different math errors and how they affected the world. So I'm really enjoying that one as well now. So good reading in general. As far as my week, watching stuff, I finished up Queer Eye, the new season 8. It was lovely. It was set in New Orleans, which is very interesting because I'm reading Confederacy of Dunces. That is also, sorry, there's a cat fight happening right now on the table that knocked the tripod a little bit. Little chase. So Confederacy of Dunces is also set in New Orleans, and it's really interesting to see the setting and the people and be, have that connection. I also finished season 10 of Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race, which was an older season, but I had never seen it. And both of those were just the balm to my soul that I needed of just hopeful, happy, fluffy stuff, really. So I think that was everything that I watched. My life was great this week, but also a little tough. I was kind of laid up this weekend, but before that, it was good. So I went to the orthodontist this week. I'm working on having major orthodontics done, and I received my last packet of Invisaligns for the remainder of my main treatment. After we're done, there may be more refinements, which are the minor tweaks, but I have less than 3 months left, which is so exciting. So I should be done by May, assuming I don't have any delays. We will see. And most excitingly about that is this last phase. So I've been in phase 2 since October. This phase 2, I was supposed to have bands and like rubber bands connecting my teeth. If you were here for phase 1, I had rubber bands on my teeth for a long time and had some pretty intensive orthodontic devices on the top of my teeth to try and accomplish things. And going into phase 2, everything was set up for that, but the orthodontist was like, you've been so compliant, you might be able to get away without it. So we went halfway. At this halfway point, he said, nope, we do not need the bands. I've been continuing with very compliant, so we think we can get by without them through the end. We'll see once I get to refinements if I do need to do a little bit longer. That's possible, but I would rather go a few extra weeks or a month and not have to deal with having bands on my teeth, because that is such a hassle. Anyone who has ever had braces and stuff probably is aware it is horrible. So I'm so relieved that I have another couple months with no bands. As well, I also went to an event this week with author Nanakwame Adjei-Brenya speaking here, and he was just so delightful, and it was odd to connect him with his book because he is so funny as a person, and his book is really, really dark and harrowing. It has some moments of humor and levity, but Chain Gang All-Stars is his latest novel, very popular. If you haven't seen it, it is out there everywhere. I've read it and loved it. I also read his previous short story collection, Friday Black, and loved it. It's very Black Mirror-esque, sort of sci-fi, speculative future stuff. And he was so fun. It was a little surprising to me, I guess. He went to Syracuse, and I had no idea, but apparently George Saunders teaches there. And so he kind of was just like casually getting advice from George Saunders. Like, wow, what an influence to have in your writing life. That is so incredible. So that was an incredible event, and I actually went and watched a video of him doing another event that covered some of the same territory, but it was just like, I enjoyed his presence and his demeanor so much that just listening to him talk really was so enjoyable. So that kind of made my week. What else? I think that's it for my week, probably. Let me look at my recommendations I have for you all for videos you should check out. First recommendation for you all is MJ from Reading This Life, who's always lovely, but she did a skit that I saw of her going on a shopping trip to her own shelves. And it's just a delightful video, like the whole concept and the way she executed it. So fun. It's simple, but really, really enjoyable and entertaining. Then we have a sort of series of videos that I have enjoyed so much. They're very intermittent, but they're called the Science Fiction Sparkle Salons. So this was episode 3 of that. You do not need to watch them in any order. It's just, a salon is like people getting together to discuss ideas. And this is a collection of people who have come together because they are science fiction authors. These are well-known authors: Karen Lord, Annalee Newitz, Malka Older, Arcady Martine, a lot of people who are on my shelves that I love. They're all getting together to discuss big ideas in futurism, because they are not only speculative science fiction authors, they are also specialists in a STEM field in their professional day job. And so they are bringing those interests and specializations together to have these kind of deeper discussions about policy and the ways that we can look forward in the future to affect our world for the better. And so I have enjoyed the Sparkle Salons so much because of that, and the way they approach their discussions, the way they don't always approach ideas the same, but they kind of bounce off of each other really, really well. And I love that. And finally, another author that I want to gush about. There was an author interview that I saw this week that was so good, and it's actually from a couple weeks ago. I kind of missed it because I've been so horribly behind. I'm still getting through people's like end of year content. We will get caught up eventually. This was one of my favorite authors from last year, Simon Jimenez, and he was being interviewed by Evie from She Was Only Evie, who has become like his biggest pusher and super fan across booktube, I think. So it was just such a gush fest, but also Evie had really, really insightful, in-depth questions and really hit the mark on interviewing him in a way that got across some of the personal elements, got across some of the book elements that really I had questions about, and it was such a joy to watch. So I highly, highly recommend that. It was so wonderful. So those are my recommendations for the week. I believe that is it for me for today. Hopefully a quick one, and I will be back next week. Thank you all so much for watching.